and do that. But, that's the point. The point, you can't argue with a guy, especially your head coach and an assistant on the sideline, because you're supposed to be the leader of the defense.
Well, he's apparently can appeal this fine, and his $100,000, the Players Association is involved. How can you move on? I mean, can you just really swallow your pride and look?
Well, first, I wouldn't go in there and do that, but, that's the point. The point, you can't argue with a guy, especially your head coach and an assistant on the sideline, because you're supposed to be the leader of the defense.
Well, he's apparently can appeal this fine, and his $100,000, the Players Association is involved. How can you move on? I mean, can you just really swallow your pride and look your coach in the face after he takes 6 figures out of your hide like that?
You have to. I mean, you are an NFL player. You're a professional. You said you're a man. And as a man, you have to move on in life and don't worry about the past.
Well, in that game, Jake Delhomme did not finish it. He just followed through on a pass and just came up hurting. The question is, how badly is he hurt? Adam Schefter will spin us around the league. We'll spin you around the quarterback carousel Wednesday, as all the quarterbacks usually use this day as a chance to speak to the media. And when Vernon Davis caught this ball and brought 2 feet down and then landed with the ball popping free, how is this not a catch? And how is it an incompletion? We'll ask Mike Burr that on this show.
NASN Trivia Timeout. What player won the Super Bowl MVP a record 3 times during his career? Stay tuned. The answer is coming up.
For Wilson baseball gloves and much more, visit NASN.com.
Welcome back to NASN Trivia Timeout. Now, the answer. Joe Montana was named the Super Bowl MVP in 3 of his 4 Super Bowl victories. He earned the MVP in Super Bowls 16, 19, and 24.
Deion Sanders, Steve Mariucci, every Sunday night this season through the Super Bowl to give you all you need to know, highlights, interviews galore on NFL Game Day, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Sundays only on NFL Network. Also only on NFL Network, the man who first told everybody that Brian Griese was going to start for the Chicago Bears this weekend in Detroit. That is Adam Schefter. How far down the depth chart did Rex Grossman fall, Adam?
Not very far, Rich. He will be the Bears' #2 quarterback with Kyle Orton serving as the #3. But to show you how close all of this actually is, there are people this summer who felt that Kyle Orton had outperformed Brian Griese. But obviously the Bears go with Brian Griese as the starter. Rex Grossman now will be the backup, and Kyle Orton will serve as the 3rd-string quarterback.
How badly hurt is Jake Delhomme? He followed through on a pass, didn't hit anybody, came up clutching his arm. Looks like an injury that normally is suffered by a Major League Baseball pitcher. How badly hurt is his elbow?
Bad enough that he didn't practice on Wednesday. He's not going to practice on Thursday either. And the first time that he could test that elbow will be on Friday. Right now, it looks like it will be tough for Jake Delhomme to go Sunday in that key battle against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because you look at the way the Saints and the Falcons have struggled. It looks like the NFC South is going to come down to a battle between the Panthers and the Buccaneers. So this game has enormous playoff ramifications, even for early in the season. And right now, it looks like David Carr could be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, the Miami Dolphins go for their first win of the season against the Oakland Raiders. And wouldn't it be interesting if Dante Culpepper starts this game? How is Josh McCown right now on those 2 bad feet?
Rich, it looks like Culpepper is going to get his first start as the Raiders quarterback. In the previous game, Josh McCown suffered a hairline fracture in his big right toe. Very painful injury. He's already been battling a left foot injury. So those are 2 problems that McCown has had to overcome. It's going to be tough for him to do that in time. Looks like right now Dante Culpepper will get the start against his former team, the Miami Dolphins.
Brett Favre going for a perfect 4-0 start in Minnesota this week, and it's always interesting when you see Favre take on a team that's got a quarterback carousel going, something that the Packers haven't had to deal with for quite some time. What's the Vikings quarterback situation?
Well, remember this. After this weekend, the Minnesota Vikings have a bye, and Tavares Jackson has a strained groin right now that's very tight. It limited him in practice on Wednesday. So with the bye week ahead, the Vikings know that if they rest Jackson this week, he would have 2 full weeks to heal it, and he wouldn't have to force the issue. So the chances are the Vikings are going to turn for the 2nd straight week to the veteran quarterback Kelly Holcomb. They'll put Kelly Holcomb up against Brett Favre, and that would give Jackson an extra week of rest because he then gets the bye week, and they can bring him back 2 weeks from now almost fully healthy.
Braylon Edwards off to a solid start, if not a great start, for the Cleveland Browns, getting a little bit of extra advice while he was stopped off in the Bay Area to take on the Raiders this week.
Last weekend, Rich, Braylon Edwards met for the first time Jerry Rice. Somehow it was arranged for Braylon Edwards to go to the house of Jerry Rice once the Browns got to the Bay Area. Braylon Edwards spent some time with Jerry Rice, picking his brain, learning how to run routes, work hard, catch passes, do all the things that the GOAT, the greatest of all time, did for so many years in the NFL. And hopefully the Browns are hoping that some of that rubs off in time for Sunday's matchup against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, big game for the Browns. Will be done with their home schedule within the division already after this game with the Ravens. That's Adam Schefter spinning us around the league here on NFL Total Access. Still to come is our weekly chat with Mike Pereira. We're not only going to talk about that Vernon Davis play in Pittsburgh, but this Brett Favre seeming fumble, then ruled incompletion. If you smell tuck rule, I think you might be right. We'll ask Mike that question, still to come. And again, while we're on the subject of Favre, we'll talk about other teams that are dealing with quarterback issues. Is McNair healthy? Is Leinart the guy for Arizona still? Don't go anywhere.
Brian is our quarterback. We talk about a starting rotation. The starting rotation has been established now with Brian, Rex, and Kyle, and hopefully we can go a long way with this group.
So there you have it. Brian Griese is in Chicago. Steve McNair is in Baltimore. He practiced on Wednesday. And again, another game that he could not finish for the Ravens this week. He is expected to start for the Ravens this week in Cleveland, while Kyle Bowler has fared very well in his stead.
We're not going to put you in home weight. We feel like, we had a 23-3 lead. It was a good time for me to rest going into the 4th quarter. And we had talked about it, and I think, at that point in time, people made a big deal out of it. But it's just something that, we talked about it, and they didn't want me to go in harm's way and tweak it more than I have in the past. So I think it was the healthiest thing for me. Plus, we got a good backup in Cal that can keep things rolling, too.
How long should he be the backup? Or you don't think that's a question in Baltimore?
There's not a question at all in Baltimore who's a starting quarterback. Steve McNair is a starting quarterback. The only question is the groin. How much can he do on it? Yes, we saw him scramble a couple of times. It was a couple of times in the game. I said the old Steve McNair would have ran out of there. But the one that's hurt right now, he's limited to what he can do, throw the ball down the field. So the only advantage that could have the Kyle Bowler can go in there is that he's a little healthier and he can get out of the pocket a little faster.
Well, it wasn't like they were up by 4 touchdowns, though, when they took him out of that game.
I was surprised that he was out and that he stayed out once they started making that comeback.
And on the flip side, in that game, how surprised were you to see Kurt Warner come out on the field? Forget about how well he did, 15-20, just the mere fact that he came out on the field, and that he came out on the field in a 2-minute drill, and Ken Wisenhunt believes that Kurt Warner runs that better than Matt Leinart. How can that continue on in the NFL?
I mean, the only person that really realizes or understands it is Ken. I mean, Ken's there every day. He's watching these guys go through the 2-minute drills. I was surprised, of course, seeing Kurt Warner in there, but Matt has to realize that Ken Wisenhunt is the head coach. He's going to make the best decision what's for this football team. And if you can't get over sharing 1 or 2 series with Kurt Warner, then this guy's not who we thought he was.
But he is the number 10 pick from a couple of years ago, and he is the future of this franchise. If he can't run a 2-minute drill now, when can he? And if the coach doesn't feel that he should, then why is he out there?
I don't think the coach,
these are questions that are legitimately asked.
I don't think the coach feels that he cannot run a 2-minute drill. I just think that he believed Kurt brings a nice change-up. He understands the game. And I think Matt can learn a lot from watching him this year when Kurt is in there going against defense, especially when he played against Baltimore this past week. His first series in, he threw 2 nice passes, and then they went 3 and out after that. But when they went on the sideline, they were watching the Polaroids, Matt was sitting on the bench. He didn't come over with Kurt. You got to be a sponge as a young guy in the National Football League. You have to take all you can from a guy like Kurt Warner, become a better player.
Well, I don't feel like Matt has done anything to lose the job, Ken Wisenhunt said this week, but he did say he's going to keep trying to find ways to get Kurt Warner in the game. And the Arizona Cardinals host Wisenhunt's old team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, this week. For more on the top quarterbacking story in the game, we turn things over to our playbook gang, Brian Baldinger and Sterling Sharp.
Let's go get one, fellas.
Hey, thanks very much. Quarterback change in Chicago. Much needed.
Yeah.
About time.
Little
Had
late.
to have it. Rex Grossman out, Brian Greasy in.
Yeah.
What's the difference and how much change is there?
Well, I don't think, well, first of all, I don't think the playbook changes at all. It's the exact same playbook, similar type quarterbacks. I think what you'll see is you just won't see the mistakes. I mean, against Kansas City a couple of weeks ago, Rex has a crosser, Rasheed Davies right there. But watch, he's late with the ball, Sterling, and he throws it right into coverage as Donnie Edwards comes by and picks him for an interception. These are the plays that were killing the Bears here, while the defense, special teams playing well. And on Sunday night, I mean, this type of throw here into coverage, you know, they set the trap for him. He threw it into him. Anthony Henry was there. Thank you very much. He's the recipient. And just like the Super Bowl, just not an interception, but an interception for a touchdown. So I think that's what's going to change, is you won't see the throws into coverage from Brian Greasy.
I believe Brian Greasy is the same guy that Rex Grossman is, because if he was not, he would still be in Denver. If he was not, he would still be in Miami.
Tampa.
But I think they're the same guy, but I think he'll protect the football a little better. When I look at the Cleveland Browns going from Charlie Fry to Derek Anderson, what I see is a guy who believes and trusts. And when I say believe and trust, let me illustrate something right here. Believe and trust. They're going to run a 7 route or a corner route to this guy right here, and he's going to run down in this area right here. Charlie Fry doesn't believe that he can throw this football in this hole, or trust that his receiver's going to be there. And what you get is Charlie Fry goes back. We're going to have ourselves a wide open receiver.
Absolutely.
Throw it. But he doesn't trust his offensive line either. He hangs on to the football. Got yourself a sack. So we can't have Charlie Fry playing quarterback. Not only can we not have him on the team,
we'll ship him to Seattle.
We're going to ship him out to Seattle and get him as far away. What Derek Anderson does is he believes in throwing it with a tight spot, understand the nuances of quarterback. Right now, where do you think this football's going?
Well, it looks like this is going to open up over the middle here, Sterling.
And he has the ability to move this guy by looking at this guy. He's going to move him, and he's going to be able to get the football in the back of the end zone to Joe Jurevicius. Derek Anderson trusts his offensive line. He believes in what he's doing. That's why he's playing quarterback. Beautiful numbers, 8.2 yards of completion, 7 plays of 25 yards or more. So he's doing an outstanding job.
Well, I think that he'll get tested this week against Baltimore, but I think if you look at what's going on in Jacksonville right now, we saw Byron Leftwich was in all through the offseason the past couple of years. David Garrard now in. Watch Byron Leftwich here. But this is one thing that Byron could never do. He could never escape the rush. The pressure got to him. But David Garrard now, this guy's got some wheels. I'm not saying he's the fastest guy or most athletic guy, Sterling, but he can make some plays with his legs. He can buy some time. And I think he throws a better ball. So I think when you look at David Garrard right now, I mean, this is what he has. He brings mobility to the play, and he can extend the play. And then, this is rare. If you're running to your right, can you see a receiver wide open back in the middle and throw it across your body? Not really recommended very often to throw it back across your body, but I think David Garrard has been able to do that so far.
Same playbook, different guys. We send it back to you.
Fun stuff. Why don't we have those telestrators, Rod?
I don't know.
I think when you go chew out our boss later after the show, you should bring that up. Thursday, Friday, playbook, AFC and NFC on each night respectively, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on NFL Network. Calvin Johnson, how will he feel if he can't play this week? What is his injury status against the Bears? That's coming up.
More trouble with the law for Michael Vick. The Atlanta Falcons quarterback has tested positive for marijuana. Because of the test, which was taken almost 2 weeks ago, a federal judge has placed tighter restrictions on Vick. He is now required to be in his home between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. with electronic monitoring and must submit to random drug testing. Falcons coach Bobby Petrino says the team is hoping that Vick can turn his life around.
How surprised or disappointed are you that Michael Vick tested positive for marijuana?
That's the first I've heard of it, so I knew nothing about that. But away from a coach's perspective, man to man, how would you react? What type of advice would you give him?
Well, we're all cheering for Michael. There's no question about that. And, you know, he's got to make some changes in his life. That would be another one that he needs to make sure he gets straightened out.
Broncos quarterback Jay Cutler had an MRI Monday on his sprained ankle. He suffered the injury Sunday in the Broncos' 23-14 loss to Jacksonville. Head coach Mike Shanahan and Cutler hoping for the best as they prepare to head to Indy and face the defending Super Bowl champion Colts.
Well, it feels all right. It's a little tender and stuff, but we're on day by day, and by the end of the week, we'll have a better gauge of what I can do and what I can't. Still a lot of time left, a lot of rehab, and I mean, I'm confident that I'll be ready.
I'm confident that he'll be on the field. I know he's a little sore right now. Unless there's a setback, he should be able to play. And every week, you know, we're confident going in. Hopefully, you know, we can back it up with the way we play.
Lions rookie receiver Calvin Johnson is still nursing a back injury. He got hurt when he landed hard on his back after a 39-yard reception in Sunday's loss to the Eagles. Johnson says he's getting treatment and can't say yet if he'll be able to play Sunday against Chicago.
Probably tell by the way I'm walking, but you know, it's a little soreness there, but that's why I'm staying in treatment.
And you made the catch, though. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, it was good play and everything, but just trying to get this thing better so I can get out on the field. Just trying to get better, you know, just staying in treatment and whatever. If I could go, then I'm going to go.
Jamal Lewis has a history of coming up huge in the Ravens-Browns games. In 2003, Lewis rushed for more than 500 yards in the team's 2 matchups. Back then, Lewis was a key cog in the Ravens' offense. So this year, he'll be trying to help the Browns get over the hump against their longtime rival.
Like I said before, I was ready to go, and it was no ill feelings there. I think it was just, you know, I didn't play just the system. I think that Billett was really putting in place. I didn't really fit that scheme.
Ken Whisenhunt and Ben Roethlisberger won a Super Bowl together in 2005. Sunday, the quarterback goes head-to-head with his old coordinator. Through the first 3 games of this season, Big Ben has the best passer rating of his career. The Steelers are 3-0, heading to Arizona to face Whisenhunt and his new team, the Cardinals.
He was the offensive coordinator. I was the quarterback. We had a good relationship, and we haven't really spoke since.
Has it changed at all? I mean, obviously out of sight, out of mind, but has it changed at all?
I don't think so. Like I said, we haven't spoken recently, so you know, no ill feelings either way, I don't think.
Coming up next, Rich and Rod look at Brett Favre and his quest to set a new NFL record for touchdown passes against the Vikings on Sunday.
Let's go! Blue, 58-36.
Here's Brett back to throw, rolling. He's going to throw it to the end zone. Touchdown!
Favre back to pass. It's caught. Touchdown!
This is where Brett Favre is at his best.
And a bullet thrown by Brett Favre.
Look at Brett Favre coming off the field. He is so happy. I think the legend just grew.
This weekend, Brett Favre will make career consecutive start number 261. However, he appeared on the injury report as limited in practice with a right finger injury. Fascinatingly enough, it's only the 49th time in his career he's appeared on an injury report at all. Favre is off to a super start, but there is one guy who's not impressed yet, and that's Favre himself.
You know, everyone's on this Brett Favre bandwagon now, and boy, he's playing the game differently and all those things. I don't see it that way. I think statistically speaking, it's easy to say, you know, there's a dramatic change in his play. You look at these first 3 games, and we've either been up or tied or you know, 3 points down at any point during the game. But we had a chance to win from the first snap to the last snap. It was never down by 14, 17. And I think you played differently in those situations.
And career consecutive start number 261 comes in Minnesota at the Metrodome, which once upon a time was a personal house of horrors for Brett Favre. But in his last 4 games, he's made himself right at home, kicking up his heels, having a soda, maybe enjoying a pizza with his good friend Lombardia. He's just kicking back, having a good old time. Brett Favre. All right, let's talk fantasy football now, Rod. What's in the E-Trade Financial Fantasy Stock Report? You're our inside trader, Rod. I want a quarterback on the rise. Who is it?
Donovan McNabb, 4 TD passes last week, and you're facing the Giants, who are 29th in pass defense, and they've given up 8 TD passes already.
Running back on the rise.
Lamont Jordan, this guy is the second in the league in rushing, 350 yards, 2 TDs, playing Miami, who are 29th in rush defense.
Okay, I think I smell what your defense on the fall is going to be, but who's the defense on the ride?
Tampa Bay, Derek Brooks, Cato June, you got Rondé Barber. Those guys are back. They're ageless, and they're playing good football.
And it looks like they may be facing David Carr this weekend.
Yes.
After they pounded the St. Louis Rams, they, as Adam Schefter mentioned before, big game in the NFC South between the Panthers and the Buccaneers this weekend. Let's talk about stocks that are falling, fantasy stocks that are falling, Rod Woodson, starting with a quarterback on the decline.
Oh, I got to go with Steve McNair. He only has 1 TD pass right now in the league, 401 yards in passing. He just cannot find the rhythm and cannot get into the end zone.
And he also can't finish games, as it seems, in Baltimore these days. How about running back on the decline, fantasy-wise?
Julius Jones. I mean, he's only 3.3 a carry. He has no TDs, and when they get in the red zone, he's not in there. They got Barber in there, so he's not getting in the end zone.
So we go to our defense on the decline, and that would be?
Oh, the Miami Dolphins. I mean, you would think that this team was the best thing since sliced bread. They are a good defense, but they are not playing like it. They're 20th in yards allowed and 28th in scoring. They are not doing well right now.
That's such crucial quality insider information of this E-Trade Financial Fantasy Stock Report that the SEC is on the phone. They want to check your records. Rod Woodson. Moving on here on NFL Total Access, NFL.com. That's your place for all your fantasy information. And I just posted my latest column on there, so allow myself to promote myself. That's on NFL.com. So the 49ers thought this was a catch. The Steelers thought it was an interception. But after further review, it came out of the video replay oven an incompletion. How in the world do you explain that? Mike Pereira is getting set to do just that. Niner fans are up in arms over this. They'll get an explanation next. This week, our Who Is series is going from a biography to an issue. Instead of a who is a certain NFL personality, who is going from last to first this year? An interesting question. We'll get answers to it Thursday, 9 Eastern Time. Right now, let's pose some questions to the head of NFL referees in our weekly exclusive chat here on Samsung Official Review with the head of NFL refs, Mike Pereira, joining us from league headquarters in New York. How are you, Mike?
Good, Rich. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Our first item up for bids with you this week comes from the Pittsburgh Niners game. Vernon Davis and the Niners going for a crucial first down in Pittsburgh territory in the third quarter of this contest when Vernon Davis is upended by Troy Polamalu, and Ryan Clark is called for an interception for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it appears that Vernon Davis not only has 1 foot down, but a 2nd foot down before he's upended by Polamalu, and then the ball comes out here, which means this should be a catch and down by contact and not an interception, and yet this is Jerry Austin's ruling upon further review.
After reviewing the play, the call is changed to an incomplete pass. The runner barely gets a 2nd foot on the ground when he's hit, and going to the ground, the ball comes out. By rule, that's an incomplete pass.
And the Niners were forced to settle for a field goal instead of being in the red zone. And at any rate, the bottom line is, how is this not a catch when Vernon Davis seems to have both feet down on the ground and then is down by contact rather than an incomplete pass? How can this be viewed as an incomplete pass, Mike?
You know, I actually think you just said it right. The question that comes on these types of plays is simply this. Did the receiver complete the catch? Did he get both feet clearly on the ground, and then was he hit? And then did that contact cause him to go to the ground? If that is the case, then it's a catch and down by contact. So really, when we got into replay, what we had to take a look at here is, did both feet get down before the contact? And it didn't. And I think that's the bright line that we need to draw here. Let's just take a look, and you can see the Polamalu hit. Watch the leg still up in the air. It's still up in the air when the contact occurs. So he has not completed the catch here. Therefore, the fact that he is not an actual runner at this point means that when he goes to the ground, he's got to hold on to the ball. And we actually had to go to another shot here to see if the ball actually hit the ground or if it was an interception. But if you take a look at this shot here, you actually were able to see that the ball was on the ground. And you could just run it one more frame, and you'll see right here, ball's on the ground, and that makes it an incomplete pass when it bounces out. That's the key. It's the real key. Did he complete the catch? And if you take a look at Stokely, actually 2 years ago in 2005, watch this play where he's going to complete the catch, left foot, right foot, then hit, gets the ball, possession, okay, watch the left foot, right foot, hit, then goes to the ground, ball pops out. That was ruled a catch and down by contact and was correctly ruled. So the big difference is, the big thing you have to focus on is, did he get both feet completely on the ground before he was hit? If he didn't, then he's got to hold on to it when he hits the ground, and he didn't in this case.
Well, I think the thing that confuses a lot of fans and myself when you take a look at it is that, again, Vernon Davis has both feet down on the ground. Now, you're saying that the fact that he has his second foot down on the ground is because Polamalu contacted him to force the foot into the ground, and you're saying that that makes it not a catch, even though he does seem to have 2 feet down on the ground, possession of the football. Because Polamalu contacted that second foot down, you say that he still hasn't established himself as a receptor in the NFL.
He has not established himself as a runner. That's really what it means. And so what you have to take a look at is, if the contact occurs before the second foot is down, then it's a process. And you hear us say all the time, if you're going to the ground, you have to hold on to the ball. Same thing applies here. If you are hit before you've completed that catch with 2 feet on the ground and you go to the ground, then you've got to hold on to it or the pass is incomplete.
And then the other issue that has confused a lot of fans is the use of the word barely by Jerry Alston in his ruling that Vernon Davis barely got a second foot on the ground. Doesn't that mean that he did get a second foot on the ground? And barely, I mean, if somebody barely breaks the plane of the goal line, then it's called a touchdown in the NFL. I mean, barely doesn't seem to be something that should be parsed in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, and really the word barely is not really relevant here. I mean, you know, when you're thinking about what you're going to say and how you describe this after you leave the booth, there are thoughts that come to your mind.
Right.
And a much better announcement just would have been, the contact came before the second foot hit the ground, therefore he must hold on to the ball. That's reality. That is the interpretation. And if he'd probably left out that word barely, of barely touching the ground, it really is not a factor in this play.
Let's move on to Green Bay, Mike. A crucial call in the Green Bay-San Diego game. Brett Favre, scrambling as he always does, loses the ball, however, and it's picked up by the San Diego Chargers. This was called a fumble, but after further review, called an incomplete pass. So I ask you, is this the reemergence of the vaunted tuck rule?
You know, we could probably put one of these up a week, it seems. You know, it is the exact tuck play. And this one's the tougher one. And this was the one why I always say I like the rule, because clearly the arm starts forward, but is he actually trying to bring it down this point, or is he actually trying to throw the pass? It comes out right at this spot. So this one to me is a perfect demonstration of the rule. This takes the gray out of it. The arm had started forward, and since that arm and hand are going forward, it is the infamous tuck play, and it is a play that we're going to call incomplete.
And just real quick, why is there a tuck rule? So many fans just don't understand why there is a tuck rule. You talk about removing the gray area. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, the removing the gray area means it's sort of not to have to make that determination of when did the ball come loose. Did it come loose before he started to bring it down, or did it come loose right at the top like this one was? This becomes a real area of gray, so therefore the rule that went in years and years ago was the fact that if you actually do change your mind and you're trying to tuck it back into your body, if it comes loose at any part of that movement until you get it back against your body or stop and now become a runner upfield, then any part of that action when the ball comes loose, it's going to be ruled incomplete. No cheap fumbles.
Our last play comes from a crucial juncture of the Arizona Cardinals-Ravens contest. The Ravens driving down the field to try and win this game. Todd Heap is nailed by Adrian Wilson seemingly cleanly. There is no helmet-to-helmet contact as far as we can see, and yet he's flagged for 15 yards that the Ravens clearly used to their advantage as Matt Stover kicked a game-winning field goal with no time remaining. Why was this Adrian Wilson hit flagged?
Two things you can't do with a defenseless receiver. You can't lower your head and hit with the crown of your helmet anywhere, no matter if you hit him in the chest or the head. There wasn't helmet-to-helmet contact here. That wasn't what was called. What was called was a forearm to the neck area, the head or neck area of the defenseless receiver. That's the second thing you can't do. So if you launch and you lead with any kind of a forearm like this, as I said, to the neck area or the head, then it's going to be a foul, and that's what was called in that situation.
All right, Mike, we appreciate the knowledge as always. That is Mike,
got it.
You bet. That's Mike Pereira and the Samsung official review exclusively here on NFL Total Access. That will wrap up with one last late look at the injury list. Zach Thomas sat it out against the Jets last week with a concussion. Will he be in the lineup for the Dolphins this weekend? You're watching NFL Total Access. As soon as we're done, the Giants and Redskins going right down to the final play. A game made for NFL replay. Coming up next. College football now on every Tuesday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern and repeated at midnight Eastern time. All the complete coverage of the upcoming college football weekend and all the best from the podium at Oklahoma State. All covered on College Football Now. Zach Thomas missed last week's game against the Jets because of a concussion suffered the week before. He had limited participation in practice on Wednesday. Coach Cam Cameron said he expects to have Thomas take part in practice on a limited basis all week. The Dolphins will take on the Raiders this week. Around the league, we check on Anquan Bolden missing practice Wednesday with a hip injury in Kansas City. A hamstring injury forced Larry Johnson out of practice for the Kansas City Chiefs. And as for the Texans' Andre Johnson and running back Amon Green sat out Wednesday's practices with knee injuries. So that's the update right there. Wednesday is the day that most quarterbacks speak to the media. And that allows us to put together a little quarterback carousel, starting with Joey Harrington giving us a little shout out.
NFL Network cam. How we doing down there?
The uniform, I'm over that. I'm happy for him. He's moved on, but the helmet, I just don't think the helmet fits right. We got to talk to their equipment guys.
I actually have to work on voice inflection and make sure that they can hear me and bring out some of the bass in my voice if I have any.
I would say those people are reaching, because I don't think Dante and I will be on the field at the same time.
Nothing is guaranteed by any stretch. I'm in the situation now, and I'm going to try to make the most of it.
I just told him that, I had no hard feelings toward him at all, and, I wish him the best, but I'm going to be right there, on the sidelines helping him, and anything he wants me to do, or if I see something on the field, I'll tell him.
To answer that question in a confrontational kind of debate kind of way that'll just stir the pot would be silly in my standpoint.
We've had good weapons every year, so I always, it's like this passing game never existed before this season. I mean, we've done some pretty good things.
We're not starting over. This is the position we want to be in, and everybody would like to be 3-0, but if you told us at the beginning of the season you're going to be 2-1 going into that fourth game, we'd take that.
No one probably would know our identity toward the end. But as a team, I think we have to just play well, play with a lot of enthusiasm, and fly around to the ball.
As I watched Drew Brees play the other night, I've been in games like that. And you can keep dinking and dunking and taking what they give you, but you're not going to win the football game. At some point, you have to take a chance.
I'll be ready. It's going to be exciting for me, but there's pressure to win the football game. And you got to do that. You got to do what you can during the week to prepare, but there might not be as much pressure on me as maybe on you guys.
Kind of an easy day today, huh?
You guys were easy.
And over the last few minutes, Rod Woodson, all he's been doing off camera is complaining about Mike Pereira's ruling on that Adrian Wilson hit of Todd Heap.
Hogwash, Rich.
What's the defensive player standpoint?
Defensive receivers, when the ball is going over your head and you're up like this defenseless, you can't do it. You have the ball, so a running back is defenseless running back now.
Quit crying.
Quit crying.
Just to give you a dose of your own medicine. 4 downs, first down. With all the quarterbacks being benched or getting hurt, which team would be in the worst shape if their starting quarterback went down?
Tom Brady or Peyton Manning.
Either one.
Either one.
Second down, more interesting Week 4 homecoming game. Adam Schefter reporting earlier in the program, it looks like Dante Culpepper will start in Miami for his first start as a Raider, or Matt Schaub coming to Atlanta.
Oh, Matt got paid. He can't be mad. So it has to be Dante Culpepper. I mean, he got booted after Trent came in.
Third down, Adam Schefter told us Braylon Edwards has been getting advice from Jerry Rice.
On dancing or pass catching?
I assume it's the pass catching. Who mentored you when you started out in the league?
I had a lot of great coaches. Tony Dungy is one of them. But Rod Rust, he came in and he really challenged me and taught me how to read film and study and break down offenses. So I would say Rod Rust.
For all those fans out there who aren't as old as you, who is Rod Rust?
He was our defensive coordinator in Pittsburgh.
Back in Pittsburgh.
Old school.
With Chuck Noll and everybody?
With Chuck
Back
Noll.
from that day. And finally, fourth down, D'Angelo Hall was fined heavily Wednesday. What was the strangest thing you got fined for in your playing career?
Not having my socks all the way up, Rich.
All the way up?
Yeah, you got to have them, you know, if you don't have the black up high enough,
Right.
if it's too much white showing,
Right.
you're fine. If it's too much black showing, you're fine. Kind of like your socks, Rich.
How much am I going to get fined for that?
I don't know.
$10.
$1.
All right. I'm going to go make sure Rod's got a job after he screams at our boss.
Welcome to NFL Total Access. Can it really be this easy for Randy Moss and the